And just like that, the Ravens hit their bye week sitting at Uma Vitória e Cinco Derrotas. And let's be honest, not many people saw this coming. The vibes? Conflicted. A city that was buzzing with purple pride has now shifted into something closer to disbelief. You look at the roster, the names, the potential, and you wonder how this team is where it is. Injuries? Sure. Execution? Definitely a problem. Coaching decisions? Well, let's get into it. The Ravens went into this matchup against the Los Angeles Rams knowing it wasn't going to be easy, but nobody expected it to be this rough. Final score wasn't a complete blowout, but don't let the 17-3 result fool you. This game felt lost long before the final whistle. Offensively, the Ravens simply couldn't get out of their own way. Every time it looked like they were building momentum, something, and usually something preventable, got in the way. Let's start with the quarterback situation, because that's been the talk of the town. With Lamar Jackson still out, Baltimore decided to go with Cooper Rush as the starter. And man, that decision sparked some serious debates before the game even kicked off. There were Ravens fans, tons of them, who had been calling for Tyler Huntley, Snoop, to get the start. People felt he deserved the shot, that his mobility and experience might give the team a better chance. But John Harbaugh and his staff went with Rush. The idea seemed to be that Rush could stretch the field more, push the ball downfield, something Huntley hasn't shown as much of. And early on, there was a sliver of hope. The offense came out with a little juice, running the ball, hitting a couple short passes, and actually moving the chains. But right when things seemed to click, flags, penalties, holding calls, offsides, offensive pass interference, the type of stuff that kills drives and breaks momentum. And that's how it went, over and over again. A decent run by Derrick Henry, called back. A pass play that gained some solid yardage, wiped away by a flag. It was like this team was fighting against itself. Now, to Cooper Rush's credit, he wasn't entirely awful. His numbers? 11 completions on 19 attempts, 72 yards, and 1 interception. But context matters. He spent most of the game running for his life. That offensive line? Atrocious. He barely had time to set his feet before defenders were in his face. The pocket was collapsing constantly, and even when it didn't, it was clear the playbook was limiting him. Lots of short throws, conservative routes, nothing to really test the Rams' defense. And then came the interception, which felt inevitable given how the offense was sputtering. But then came Tyler Huntley, and instantly, you felt a different energy. He came in, started using his legs, extended plays, and gave the offense something, anything, to believe in. Was it enough to spark a comeback? No, but at least there was movement. There was life. Huntley showed flashes of what the offense could have looked like if he'd been given the reins from the start. He got the team into the red zone, kept drives alive, but the finish still wasn't there. And to make things worse, the one time they were knocking on the door, literally on the 1-yard line, they couldn't punch it in. And let's talk about that goal line sequence. This was the moment that summed up the entire game, maybe even the entire season so far. First down, handed to Derrick Henry, the guy you brought in for exactly these moments. He gets a couple yards, gets them close. Then, the tush push. Not once, but twice. They tried the tight end sneak with Mark Andrews. Both times, stuffed. Nothing. Then on fourth down, back to Henry. Stopped again. For plays. 1 yard. 0 points. That's brutal. Some fans called it bad play calling. Others blamed execution. But here's the truth. Both are to blame. The offensive line, especially in short yardage situations, has been a disaster. Henry is a beast, no question, but he's not getting any help. You could bring in the best running back in history, and it wouldn't matter if there's no push up front. And trying the tush push, a play that works for Philly because of their elite O-line, with this group, bold, but doomed from the start. And then, as if that wasn't enough pain, Zay Flowers fumbled. Twice. Only one counted officially, but both times he put the ball on the ground, and both times the Rams jumped on it. That's a killer. He's a young receiver, dynamic, full of potential, and you love the fire he plays with. But these mistakes, they change games. And he knows that. You could see it in his body language after the second one. Frustration, disappointment, embarrassment. That's the kind of stuff that sticks with a player. And let's not forget another brutal moment. Henry, again, pushing for extra yards, trying to muscle his way into the end zone. He's wrapped up, keeps churning his legs, trying to break the plane. Then, boom, fumble. The The Rams scoop it up and take off. That should have been a defensive touchdown. But the refs? They blew the whistle, ruled forward progress had been stopped. A lucky break for Baltimore. But let's be real, they didn't deserve it. Not the way this offense was playing. The defense, meanwhile, is where it gets tricky. Because on paper, holding the Rams to 17 points? That's a win. Any defensive coordinator will tell you. Hold a team under 20, and you've done your job. But again, context. The Rams left points on the field. Dropped passes, blown opportunities, and conservative play calling made this look like a better defensive performance than it really was. Puka Nacua got hurt and missed time. Cooper Kupp wasn't fully himself. And still, the Ravens' defense had moments where they looked completely lost. One of the Rams' touchdowns came off a simple flat route, a play the Ravens have been getting burned on all season long. It's like the defense just doesn't know how to cover tight ends or running backs leaking out into the flats. And it's not just a communication issue, it's effort. It's awareness. There was no one even close to the receiver on that play. No contest. No pressure on the quarterback. Just a clean, easy pitch and catch. That's inexcusable at this level. And then there was that fourth down play. 4th and short. Critical moment in the game. Rams line up, Stafford drops back, and the Ravens rush 2 players. 2. The other 9 dropped into coverage. And what happened? The Rams still completed the pass. 30-plus yards. Converted the 4th down. That's embarrassing. You're dropping 9 into coverage and still getting beat over the top? That's not just on the players. That's on the coaching. That's on the scheme. But to be fair, the defense wasn't completely lifeless. They forced a fumble on Matthew Stafford and recovered it. John Jenkins, shout out to him for that strip. There were stops. They even got a 4th down stop of their own late in the game. But when it really mattered, when they needed that one big play to shift the momentum, it didn't happen. And that's been a theme this season. Close, but not close enough. Special teams? Not a whole lot to say. Tyler Loop hit the lone field goal. Jordan Stout had a solid game punting. But in a game where the offense scores 3 points and the defense is barely holding on, special teams can only do so much. There was a scary moment when Leone West fumbled a punt return, but a penalty saved him. He bounced back with a decent return. After that, but again, it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Coaching-wise, this game raised a ton of questions. The decision to start Cooper Rush, the failed red zone sequences, the bizarre defensive play calls, it all adds up. And what's frustrating for fans is that these aren't isolated incidents. These are patterns. These are issues we've seen week after week. And yet, nothing changes. No staff adjustments. No accountability. Just the same script, different week. Harbaugh said they're sticking with the staff. No coaching changes. And maybe that's fine if you believe the problem is execution, not scheme. But at what point do you look at the bigger picture? At what point do you admit that something's broken and needs fixing? And now here we are. 1 win, 5 losses, a bye week to regroup, reassess, and hopefully reset. Lamar is expected to be back. Roquan Smith, too. That could be huge. But if the Ravens come out of this break and look anything like they did against the Rams, it won't matter who's back in the lineup. The issues run deeper than just missing personnel. This team is struggling with identity, execution, and belief. And until that changes, it's going to be a long season in Baltimore. It's wild to think that with all the talent on this roster, all the expectations, and all the off-season hype, the Ravens find themselves in this spot, searching for answers, clinging to whatever hope is left. The frustration isn't just from the losing. It's from how they're losing. Missed opportunities, self-inflicted wounds, coaching decisions that leave fans scratching their heads, and execution that simply isn't up to NFL standards. And what really stings is that the margin between being competitive and being embarrassed hasn't been all that wide. Look at the Rams game again. The defense bent, but it didn't completely break. The offense moved the ball in spurts. Derrick Henry finally got going, 122 rushing yards at over 5 yards per carry. That's a big day for any running back, especially against a defensive front like Los Angeles. But somehow, even with that performance, the Ravens didn't score a single touchdown. That's almost impressive in the worst way possible. It's like watching a team that's doing just enough to get your hopes up, only to let them crash every single time they get near the end zone. That's been the theme of the season. Flashes of potential completely overshadowed by a lack of consistency. You watch Henry break a big run, you watch Huntley scramble to extend a play, You watch Flowers juke defenders out of their shoes, and you start thinking, okay, this might be the drive. But then penalty, drop, sack, fumble, and suddenly you're punting again or settling for a field goal, or worse, walking off the field with nothing. It's the kind of performance that drains a fan base, not just because it's bad, but because it's disappointing. There's a difference. Bad teams don't have expectations. They lose and nobody's surprised. But a team like this, a team with stars on both sides of the ball, this isn't just a team underperforming. It's a team wasting potential. And it's not just the fans who feel it. You can see it on the players' faces. After the failed fourth down attempts, the fumbles, the drops, the miscommunications, there's this look of confusion. Like they don't know what's wrong, but they know something is. That's a dangerous place to be as a football team. Because when belief starts to fade, the effort starts to follow. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to fix mid-season. The offensive line, in particular, has been a disaster. It's one thing to struggle with pass protection. That happens. But when you can't even hold up long enough to convert a 1-yard run, that's a whole other issue. You brought in Derrick Henry to be the hammer, to be the guy who closes drives, wears down defenses, and dominates at the goal line. But he's being met in the backfield more often than not. It doesn't matter how strong or fast your running back is if the offensive line is collapsing at the snap. And you know what makes it worse? The lack of adjustments. It's not like this has been a one-game problem. It's been the story all season. And yet, the same personnel, the same blocking schemes, the same issues keep showing up. There are younger guys on the bench. There are different combinations to try. But the staff seems content to roll with what clearly isn't working. That's the kind of stubbornness that loses locker rooms. Then there's the play calling. Sometimes you watch a Ravens game and wonder if the offense is even designed for the players on the field. You've got one of the best power backs in the league, but you're calling finesse runs behind an O-line that doesn't move people. You've got a mobile quarterback in Huntley, but most of the passing game is built around 5-yard curls and checkdowns. Where's the creativity? Where's the unpredictability? Where are the plays that put your best players in space? Zay Flowers is a perfect example. He's explosive. He's shifty. He can turn a routine slant into a big gain. But instead of giving him chances in motion or designing screens that allow him to work in the open field, the offense treats him like a possession receiver half the time. And even when he does make something happen, like in the Rams game, it ends in disaster. It's not all on the coaches, obviously. Players have to protect the football. But when mistakes keep piling up across the board, you have to look at the people calling the shots. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. Chaos erupted in Baltimore yesterday when Ravens head coach John Harbaugh appeared to lose his composure during a live broadcast, shocking fans and insiders alike. The normally composed and strategic coach, known for his steady hand in tense moments, seemingly snapped while discussing team dynamics, dropping hints that could rock the roster to its core. During the segment, Harbaugh's frustration was palpable. Sources described the scene as tense and almost unrecognizable, with the coach gesturing emphatically and raising his voice in a way rarely seen on national television. In the midst of the outburst, he made a startling revelation. There is a player on the Baltimore Ravens whom he reportedly wants off the team. The comment, off the cuff and seemingly unfiltered, has already sent shockwaves through the NFL community. The identity of the player remains the subject of intense speculation. Analysts and insiders are poring over recent performance stats, locker room reports, and practice footage, trying to decipher whom Harbaugh could be targeting. Some point to recent struggles in key games, while others suggest the tension could be related to off-field issues. Whatever the case, the admission has ignited a firestorm of rumors, with trade talks and potential roster moves suddenly dominating headlines. This is not the first time a coach has publicly expressed frustration, but Harbaugh's live revelation is particularly explosive given the timing. The Ravens are in the middle of a critical stretch of the season, and any hint of instability could affect both team morale and public perception. Fans are now debating whether this is a calculated leak meant to pressure the front office or a genuine, spontaneous outburst of frustration. Inside sources suggest the Ravens management is already reviewing options quietly, though no official moves have been announced. Meanwhile, Social media is ablaze with speculation, memes, and hot takes, as supporters and critics alike dissect every word of Harbaugh's statement. One thing is certain: Baltimore's locker room and the NFL rumor mill will not be the same in the coming days. Whether this will lead to a high-profile trade or simply a private conversation behind closed doors, the ripple effects of Harbaugh's live meltdown are undeniable. The Ravens, long known for their disciplined culture, now face a moment of uncertainty, and the league watches with bated breath to see how this saga unfolds. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.